Today we're talking about all things resilience.
Like having enough reserves to actually start again, because otherwise you're basically running on empty.
That's when you have your time of greatest growth.
And I can tell you there were times where I was absolutely on my knees.
Hello, it's only me.
It's the exhale that's connected to the parasympathetic nervous system.
Hello and welcome to the show. Her name is
Ali Francis and his name is
Stephen Conway. There's a delay every single time with you.
That's because I had something in front of my... I had a bloody learn more box in my screen. I was just like, get out of the way!
Regardless of how many times we practice this, you still go,
but it's designed for us to have a bit of a laugh before we start. It gets us into the right space.
Welcome to the show. Right, today we're talking about all things resilience, and so we're going to give you a whole series of tips. The idea behind the show obviously is for us to give you our daily dose of inspiration, some ideas, tips, without you having to watch a 3-hour long podcast and actually only take about 3 things away with you. These are designed to be short and sharp, to the point, and give you something that you can go away with and go, I can put that into my life today. And you also get to hear about our experiences as well. So Ali, what and how have you experienced the need for resilience in your life? And then I'll share my stories.
Well, resilience for me means bouncing back, because we all have times where we get completely exhausted. We have days where we were completely overrun. And a sign of good resilience is basically the ability to just be able to bounce back. So what that means is, to me, it's like having reserves, like having enough reserves to actually start again, because otherwise you're basically running on empty. So one of the things that I think is so important for resilience is getting enough rest. And as the sleep guru, of course, I'm going to say that, but it's so true. When you have enough rest, then your resilience actually goes up. And if you have one of those tracking things, which I recommend, I use an Aura ring, and I know Stephen does as well. It has the HRV tracking thing on there.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know,
you're going straight into the tips here, and I was actually going to say what I really wanted to know, and so to share with the people at home is a little bit of a story where you've had a challenge in your life that you've had to overcome, so that they get to know us better before we start giving the tips. So
which challenge?
Exactly. Well, that's the point. That is the point that I think that people would want to listen to at home, is actually they're not alone in the fact that we could give multiple examples of where life has been quite challenging. Okay. So do you want to give some of yours? And also, do you want to move your camera so that you're up about the same height as me?
I'm sorry, is it not? There you go.
There you go. Look at that. See, now we're equals. You're not like that little girl at the class going, hello, it's only me. Hello, it's just me. Hello, don't forget me.
Okay.
So,
right, okay, yes.
Tell the audience, and we will get this. We'll get this format right eventually. But
yes,
hey, the great thing about this is that if you're happy to put this live, I am. Because we don't have to be that polished.
Well, let's see. Okay, right. So so an occasion when I've needed to, or when I've overcome, right? So one of the worst,
or lots of occasions.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's start. One occasion where I had a beauty business, like many moons ago.
You had a what business?
A beauty business.
Oh, beauty business. Right. Yeah.
And I used to travel around Europe and sometimes the world, teaching therapists to do a treatment. And at the time, I was suffering from chronic insomnia. So I would have to get up sometimes at 3 a.m. in the morning and drive round the M25 before it started building up. And I can tell you there were times where I was absolutely on my knees because I would have no sleep, 1 hour, half an hour, no sleep at all a lot of the time because I was also going through a divorce. And I should think there's quite a few of you people out there who are either going through that, have been through that, and that is one of the things that drains your energy so much.
What, the divorce or the
The divorce,
lack of sleep?
divorce and the lack of sleep. So the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
divorce
The
really,
double whammy.
the double whammy. So that was
Mm,
triggering the chronic insomnia,
mm,
and I was suffering for many, many, many years.
mm,
So that's one of the times where I've been running on empty, and it really did make me ill. I had ulcers in my mouth, I had acne
mm,
rosacea, I
mm,
had really bad stomach issues,
mm,
and I basically wanted the world to open up and swallow me up because I
mm,
really felt like I don't know if I can actually manage to get through another day like this.
mm.
But I did. And if you're someone who's going through that, you can and you will. But it does take time, and it takes you to actually take a look and go, right, what do I need to do? How can I help myself? And I think if you ask that question, then you will get some answers. And if you plug into podcasts like this, so you get quick quick takeaways, then you can just do one or two things that we're going to talk about in a minute that will help you build up your resilience. So that is one of the times.
Would you say, has that been the hardest time of your life?
I think that probably was the hardest time of my
Okay.
life, just really from the lack of sleep.
Mm.
The lack of sleep. It nearly actually killed me, and I actually felt very almost suicidal, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Because when you're not getting enough sleep, you really do feel like you would
Go
just,
into the dark
all you
side.
want to do is be unconscious because
Mm,
you're laying there, you're awake 24 hours.
mm,
And all you want to do is have some respite from the world because
mm,
you just want the mind to turn off. You just want to just be shut off. You really do not
mm.
want to be here in the
And we
world.
should cover that in a future episode. I think we should cover insomnia and what our tips for that is and
I
what you
definitely will.
learned from your
Yeah,
experience. So I think that's a great
yeah,
one to do.
definitely.
We should do
But
it.
it,
We should do like a list of all
mm,
of the different topics because
mm,
we've got loads. Well, let
so
me tell
many.
you, I have a gazillion stories of challenges I've had in my life. I've had a number of businesses that have gone south, and that has been extremely challenging. The last one being my chocolate business, where I was featured on Dragon's Den, got 3 offers, decided to decline those offers because we were having all sorts of issues behind the scenes, and I just felt that I couldn't genuinely go through with taking the investment, knowing the problems that we had behind the scenes that needed to be sorted. What happened then was the Ukraine war started. I was buying a lot of ingredients. Our cost of our ingredients, literally in certain cases, went one or two doubled overnight. We had the energy costs. So one of our suppliers for our energy, the bill the previous year for electricity was £21,000, and the quote for the following year was 94,000. And we weren't making money as it was. I then got a phone call from this company that did our deliveries to say that a whole pallet had been crushed. And it was like literally one thing after another. And like you, I really did go to the dark side in terms of my thought processes. But I, made it through, and thank God I did. And if
Yeah.
you are in a position at this moment in time where, it is very dark and you are considering, something like suicide, then number one, I want to tell you that you are in a valley, but there is a hill coming.
Mm,
There is daylight coming. You might be in at night, but there is daylight coming. But also seek help. Speak to the Samaritans. Go and speak to somebody to get help. don't hide it away like I did, because that's the worst thing that you can do. Talk to somebody, get help there. And I promise you, the great thing, and this is my top tip, first top tip, is that what happens to you, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah, I know that's going to sound a bit weird. What is happening to you doesn't matter. My next part of that is it's how you respond that matters. Now, what does that mean? Well, basically, at the end of the day, how you develop as a person, and the kind of person that you turn into comes from those tough moments and how you respond to those tough moments. And as you respond to all of these and have to use every ounce of your creativity, ideas, and strength and courage to come through it, two things happen. Number one, you learn an inordinate amount. The best times for learning are when you go through your biggest challenges. That's when you have your time of greatest growth. And secondly, you become a far more interesting person as a result of having gone through those challenges. So that's my first tip is, number one, while it can feel as dark as can be, and I have been there, I understand where you're coming from, it actually doesn't matter what's happening. It is down to your response, and that is the response that then turns you into the person that you are. And if you think about it, one of the most beautiful things in the world is a diamond. Well, how did a diamond become a diamond? Through enormous, inordinate amounts of pressure. And I like to think of you at home as one of those diamonds, and you become a diamond because you've coped with all of that pressure. So that's my tip. What's your next tip?
Well, I want to say something about the diamond because one of my teachers years ago said to me that we're all born with a shiny diamond inside. And what happens is, as we grow up, we throw shit all over our diamond. And then when we're grown up, we paint on a shiny surface. And sometimes we have to sort of excavate and we have to go through the shit to reach the shiny diamonds. And what he said to me, he said, all we're doing is we're polishing your diamond, as in cleaning off and finding the light. And that stuck with me forever. And it's very, very true that, as you said, that when you go down in a hole, you will come back up because we're wired to come back up. We're wired to survive. That's how we're wired. But I think one of the things that happens when you'll go through those things, and I know, Stephen, you were going through that as well, you become so exhausted. You have no resilience left. And what you need to do is you need to think about, right, how can I build my resilience? And so one of my top first tips is, of course, it's going to be sleep, because being the sleep guru, but apart from anything else, sleep is the thing where your body repairs, your mind sorts out the memories, the experiences. You know that old wives' tale that says, well, why don't you sleep on it? Because tomorrow it will look different. And it's very true. And there is a scientific reason why you see it differently, because in the evening and when you're so exhausted, you're actually in your fight or flight, you're wired up to see things like big drama. And the next morning, you just have a different pair of sunglasses on, like a different pair of glasses, so you look at it in a different way.
Yeah. So what would be, for somebody who may be not sleeping at this moment in time, and as I say, we will do an episode on insomnia, what would be a really good quick tip in order to have somebody help themselves sleep tonight?
Right. I'm going to just do two quick tips, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. You need to have a wind down, and you need to eat very early and light. So wind down, lights low, no TV, just calm reading, calm music, nice scents, bath.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's been said a million times before, but the reason that it's been said a million times before, because that's what's required in order for you to get a good night's sleep. You have to wind down. I can tell you, if I'm on my computer at 9 o'clock and I'm still very stimulated with what I'm watching or whatever, it does affect my sleep.
Yeah.
So if you're not sleeping very well, those 2 tips: eat early, eat light, and have a proper, really wind down.
Yeah.
Self-massage, treat yourself, have a spa. It's not going to work just overnight, but if you
Yeah.
do that for 7 days in a row,
It
you
will
will
start
definitely start
yeah,
to kick it.
feel
You'll
better.
definitely start to
Yeah.
kick in. It will.
I find as well that if I make an effort to go to bed early, and get up early, then I find that sometimes it doesn't happen straight away, and sometimes I have to help it along with some herbal sleep tablets or some melatonin to just give it that little initial kick to get me into that sleep, because I find that old wives' tale about the hours before midnight are worth double the hours after midnight. I find absolutely so true for me. And I think there are some people who are night owls, but they're few and far between. And you're probably a night owl because you are so wired to blue light and devices and what have you. And that's what is keeping you up. But if you make the adjustment and start going to bed earlier, you will find, number one, that you then have a little bit more energy to do a little bit of exercise. And I would suggest then you do a little bit of exercise and then keep going to bed at the same time every night and getting up at the same time every day as well. So as I say, we're going to do a full episode on sleep, which is going to have so many tips. Probably do a full week on sleep.
Absolutely.
Actually, because there's so many tips.
So many things.
So my next tip is to write down everything that could possibly go wrong. Write it down in a sort of journaling type of way. So just free flow, get your pen out and start writing what is the problem, how you feel about it, and just let the pen flow. And even if you then want to, maybe ideas about how to get through this, what can I do in order to get through this, and just free flow with the pen, because I'm going to assure you 2 things. Number one is that you will start to look at those pages and go, well, the worst thing's not that bad. I will survive the worst thing. And number 2 is, I promise you this, in a few weeks' time or a few months' time, but you do these kind of things every single day, you will actually look back on this and go, do you know what? I got through it and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And as a result of getting through it, you do 2 things. You inspire yourself to feel better about yourself because you go, I did that. I got through that. And more importantly, you inspire other people around you. Those people, I do know people who have tried to commit suicide or have even, I wouldn't say the one case I'm talking about where, whether it was suicide or whether it was just an accident, but either way, I've seen the devastation that happens afterwards, and the devastation that happens that ripples out to everybody out there. And there is, some lines of human culture, or I wouldn't say like religions, but like what do you call it when it's not a religion, but it's philosophy. So Kabbalah, for example, which I've been sort of looking into more recently, Kabbalah say that we have in our life, we have a thing called a tikkun, or usually more than one tikkun. And that's something we're here to learn, something we're here to understand and grow as a person in this lifetime. And what they say is, if you say, for example, take the suicide route out, you will have to then come back in another life and learn that all over again. So now, I'm not saying I agree with that or don't agree with that, but the point I'm trying to make to you is that in that situation, yes, I can see that you think it's going to be the quickest way to relief, but actually, in reality, you just devastate everybody around you. And on top of that, if the philosophy is right that you then have to then come back and relearn what you've just done, you have to go through it all again. So so just get writing, have a look at it and see in that writing, is it really that bad? Because I know it can feel that way. I do know it can feel that way, but actually over time, with you really doing a lot of self-care, you'll start to look at it and go, do you know what? I can get creative here. I can get creative and I can create a much better life. So what's your next tip?
Yeah, I think that's really lovely, Stephen. Thank you. That'll be really helpful to lots of people, I'm sure. Yeah, I think that when you're in that state, you are absolutely exhausted, and you sometimes think, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do next or what will be better for me. But one of the things I think is really helpful is to start doing something that's going to nourish yourself, or, like as Stephen said, change the bedtime or whatever. Look at the food intake, but also find a way of tracking what's going on with you, because it's very inspiring when you see a difference. As an example, the Aura Ring, for example, there's other things. I think the Fitbit does it as well, but there's HRV, which is your sign of resilience, the heart rate variability. So what that basically means is the little tiny variations between the heartbeats. And the more variations there are between the heartbeats, the more resilient you are, meaning that you are able to bounce back. So go into high stress 1 minute, and then you're able to come back into the normal state of being. So you come out of the fight or flight. And things make a difference. So if you were to do 3 things: do the writing, change the bedtime, and as I said earlier, is actually eat light and do the bit of self-care, monitor that over a week, I am pretty well 99.9% sure that you will see an improvement in your HRV. And I found that very motivating myself when I was in one of my holes, thinking, is it working? Is this working? Because sometimes you think it's not working. So having a way of finding out if it's working is really, really helpful. But you have to take the steps, and you have to make a decision to take. And a lot of these things take more than willpower. I think there's willpower versus a decision. Willpower is like, people go, well, I'll try. No, that's not going to cut it. You go, I've decided that I'm going to do this, this and this. And you make the decision rather than try to do it and use your willpower. So I suppose that's sort of, a couple of tips in there, sort of all mixed into one.
Yeah, absolutely. And so my next tip on that is what is my next tip? I did have it and it's gone right on my head. Oh, yes, it is. It's related to yours, actually. Now, and that is that I find that certain things really cause a massive change in my brain chemistry. And those are, in order, sugar is one of the biggest ones, alcohol, gluten, and also processed food. Those few things there really play havoc with the way I feel, both in terms of energy and also in terms of how good I feel about myself. Now, it's not easy to cut them out, but it is quite simple. What I mean by that is that you can just move yourself to a whole food diet, which means eating fish and vegetables, meat and vegetables, or if you are a vegetarian, you can have eggs and vegetables. If you're a vegan, it's a bit more challenging, but you want to, have a whole food plant-based mainly diet. So if you are vegan, things like rice and potatoes and sweet potatoes and vegetables and what have you, just to get your control over your glucose levels, because all of these things have a massive impact on your glucose levels. And if you can stabilize your glucose levels, number one, you will feel a lot less stressed. Number two, you will sleep better, and you'll find it so much easier than going to bed and falling asleep. And number three, you'll look better because you're going to lose weight and take a lot of that strain away from your body. So, first thing I would do if I do when I feel like this, because the thing about one thing to remember is we all have a shit life in one way, shape, or form. It is, that life throws you lemons a lot of the time. Whatever you are, you can be the richest person in the world and it's going to throw lemons at you, because that's what life is all about. And life is about you taking the lemons and turning them into lemonade somehow. Or when it rains, learning to dance in the rain. And so the first thing that I would do when I feel, and I do when I feel like that, is look to remove the things that make me toxic and see how I can actually cleanse, detoxify my body, whether that be doing some intermittent fasting or even just doing some fasting for a couple of days, where I can actually just clean out the body. And it's amazing how quickly my body responds to me stopping the poison going in. So that is my next tip. Ali, what's your next tip?
My next tip is slightly related to that, is not overloading the digestion and leaving, in Ayurveda they say leave a third empty, because your stomach takes a while to register that it's full. And I'm sure we've all done it. I know I've done it myself many, many times. Because I've eaten, and I've eaten till I felt a bit full at the table, and then I'm completely stuffed. I feel exhausted, because your energy, the digestive process takes so much energy. So as Stephen was saying, if you can eat something or choose things that's easily digested, not really heavy gluten stuff, too much heaviness, as in, lots of, I know I'm vegetarian, lots of heavy, difficult to digest meats sometimes. But the main thing is to not overload the digestion. Don't eat until you're stuffed. Eat until you feel a bit satisfied, and then you'll notice a massive change in your energy. Because when you feel stuffed, all you feel like doing is completely going to sleep, and it brings you down, brings your humour down. And that's not what you really want to be doing, is bringing your humour down in this level. So eat light, leave a bit of space in your gut so that your body is not using all of its energy to digest the food, because you've got so little energy when you're feeling so down and so lacking in resilience. That's my next tip.
Excellent. My next tip is breathing. So I have a very simple breathing technique, which I do find really helps in terms of getting myself, back into the zone. And that is simply this. I breathe in through my nose for as long as I possibly can. And at the top of that, when I feel like I've got a lung full of oxygen, is I hold my breath for double the amount of time that I breathe it in. So if I go, so that's 3 seconds, I'll hold it for 6 seconds, and then I will release as slowly as possible. So I'll release it for sort of 9 seconds. So I'll breathe in for 3, hold it for 6, release for 9. And I just repeat that until I feel my whole system, number one, being oxygenated, and number two, the parasympathetic nervous system starting to calm down. And while you do that as well, if you can think great thoughts about what potential, what would you like your life to be like? What would it be? Wouldn't it be great if it was X or it was Y? If you can do that with the breathing, then it doubles the ability to start calming that parasympathetic nervous system down. And I have been known, when I have been particularly stressed, to do that throughout the day. I can literally do that, throughout the day, just to keep that, returning that parasympathetic nervous system under control. So that's my next tip.
Well, that's a nice one, Stephen. And we'll do some more on the breath, because breath is very much my thing. And as Stephen was saying, having a longer exhale, it's the exhale that's connected to the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's why you start to feel.
I didn't know that. And there you go.
Yeah,
You learn.
inhale.
See, you come on this show, and you're even on the host of the show, and you learn something. That's what I love about doing this show, because I learn things every day.
There you go. Inhale, sympathetic. Exhale, parasympathetic.
There you go.
Left nostril, parasympathetic. Right nostril, sympathetic.
No, I do find that works really well as well. That's a great one, where you block one nostril, breathe in through the other one, hold it, release through the other nostril, breathe through that one, hold it, release. So you can do some, what's that breath?
It's analome below. Analome Vilome is the alternate nostril breathing. And if you're doing that, by the way, always exhale, finish on the left, because that's the parasympathetic, so that leaves you in a calm state. And
that's another fantastic breathing technique. It really is.
Well, the Brahmari or the analome
the alternate.
It says the analome Vilome. Then you have Nadi Shodhana with the holds. So that's the holds with the alternate nostril breathing.
And you can look all these up on YouTube. So if you are interested there,
I've got some on my channel as well.
We can put some links in the show notes.
I will put some link, and then maybe we can have our show class.
Yes.
And I will guide you on a. Well, I will do. We will definitely do that. Absolutely. So my other tip is basically meditation.
Yes.
Meditation, because when your senses are moving inwards, you are not using a whole load of energy with all the stimulation that's around you. So bringing your senses inwards lets your nervous system off the hook. You're not using energy to go out there, you're conserving it. So think of it like you're conserving your energy. And I know everyone's going to say, I can't meditate. And everyone can, if you can think, you can meditate. But the key thing about meditation is you need to prepare the mind for meditation. So the longer exhale, so just doing the simple breathing technique that Steve has just mentioned, inhale, exhale, double the length of the inhale, and do that for 10 minutes and then sit for 10 minutes. You'll find your mind will go quieter for easier than it would if you hadn't prepared the mind. So the tip is meditation, but always prepare the mind, and better in the morning. In the morning before you've even turned anything on. So meditation, sleep, eating light, breath work. If you do all those things, they're not actually difficult things that we've talked about. It's just a case of making a decision to actually make them part of your life, because sometimes these things seem overwhelming to actually take on, but everyone's got 10 minutes. Everyone could actually probably find 20 minutes for themselves. I believe that everyone could do that. Slightly less strolling, slightly less news, slightly less banale chatting or whatever it is. Everyone can find 20 minutes for themselves. And I think that if you put those things in place and actually watch the stats, you will see a big change in the stats within 30 days, without a doubt.
And I'd like to leave you with some inspiring quotes about resilience. Nelson Mandela said, "Do not judge me by my success. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again." Nice. Confucius said, "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but it's in rising every time we fall." And Oprah Winfrey said, "Turn your wounds into wisdom." And I think that is the greatest gift, is that, everybody, regardless of how they look on the outside, everybody has
Yeah.
problems. That's
Yeah.
number one. Number two, everybody does a really good job of hiding that because they don't want to upset other people. So therefore, when you are looking at Instagram and Facebook thinking that everybody's having the most wonderful life, it's because they don't want to share their shit. It's as simple as that, either because they're either embarrassed about it or they just don't want to bring other people down. So if you have that in mind, then you realize that actually what's happening to you right now can actually be your greatest glory. And that is twofold. Number one, to shape you into become an even stronger, better, amazing person that you already are. But number two, and this is the greatest gift of all, that you can help somebody else who's in that position. And, you know, I can say certainly from my perspective here, one of the reasons why we do this show, why I do this show, is because I have been through colossal crap in my life and I want to help other people. And I continue to go through colossal crap in my life. But it makes me feel better helping other people. It makes me feel better to know that I'm doing something that is going to hopefully, even if it just helps one person listening to this show who gets an idea and goes, do you know what, I'm going to try that, then it's all been worth it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if,
I agree.
you know, so this is my final tip. If you are in a dark place or not feeling great, go and take some flowers to a nursing home and say, please, you know, spend £3 on some flowers at a, you know, or £6 from a, you know, petrol station. Take them to, or pick some flowers somewhere, just take some chocolates, whatever, to a nursing home and say, is there anybody who's not had a visit in the last, you know, few months? Of which you're going to find they'll say, yes, we do. In which case then say, will you be kind enough to pass these flowers on to them, or these chocolates, or a note, if you can't afford the chocolates or the flowers, a little note to say, somebody is thinking of you and hopes that you have a better day today. And if you do that, you're going to feel a lot better.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that and how it does make you feel better. But it also, there's a whole philosophy around selfless service, and they say that the selfless service is your path to the divine, to actually connect to the divine. That's because it makes you feel so good. You feel so good when you do something, and that's the selfless service. And if you just do karma yoga for your whole life, that's a direct path to the divine. So it's interesting. Yes.
So on that note,
Yes.
Ali, have you got anything else that you would like to add before we sign off for the day?
No, I think just we'd love to hear from you if you do actually implement any of those things that we talked about.
Yeah.
And let us know where you are, or if there's anything else you'd like to know about. We're going to be talking about lots of things on the show, and if there's anything specifically that you'd like to hear about, please just write it in the comments, and we'd love that. Thank you.
And if you are in a really, really dark place, please, please, please do seek professional help, whether that be speaking to the Samaritans to start off with, speaking to your doctor, or speaking to somebody who can hold a hand out for you. Then, you know, if you are feeling that way, and you even want to just share that in the comments, please do. But please, please, please get help. I promise you that it will get better. I have been, and I know that Ali has been, through some of the darkest nights, and we have got through it. And one of the reasons we're doing this show is because we have got through it and want to share that with you guys. So we wish you all the best. God bless. We're thinking of you if you are in a dark place. And if you're just somebody who's just having a little bit of a challenge and a niggle, we hope that one of our tips helps take you and your life to the next level. So until next time, her name is
Ali Francis, and his name
Stephen Conway. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. It's a goodbye from her.
And it's a goodbye from him.
Take care. Bye-bye.